There's been a string of anti-gay incidents in this country in recent weeks, and in yet another, a lesbian couple was thrown out of a Raleigh, North Carolina mall for being affectionate. Caitlin Breedlove says a security guard told her and her partner to leave after they shared a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Here now in her first national interview is Caitlin Breedlove. Caitlin, can you tell me, hi, first of all.
Hi, Joy.
Can you tell me what happened that day?
Absolutely. So it's like a lot of incidences that happen to people of color, immigrants, and gay people. We were being ourselves, and we were asked to leave. We're sitting on a bench, like you said, peck on the cheek. Security officer said, you need to go. And we said, would it be the same if we were a man and a woman? She said no. Oh, she called her supervisor, and the supervisor agreed we had to leave. So as you can imagine, we didn't like that very much at all, Joy.
I can just imagine. So it was a female security guard. I didn't realize that.
Yes, the first one was, and then the supervisor was a man.
Maybe she wanted you to kiss her. Do you ever think of that?
Well, you know, I don't know, but we definitely didn't think we were doing anything different or inappropriate than anyone else. And she also told us it's private property, and we thought, well, you know, most of this country is private property, and we still have a right to common decency and to treat each other well in public spaces, you know, no matter what. So that's why we thought that we'd fight it, Joy.
Okay, now just to be fair, York Properties, who manages the mall, has since apologized, and they promised sensitivity training for security personnel. Was this an isolated incident or a larger culture of homophobia to blame, do you think? I mean, because we keep hearing about a lot of these things happening these days.
Well, you know, I think bullying is more than one bad apple, Joy, and I think that it is a larger culture of homophobia and racism and xenophobia. We see a lot of different kinds of things happening, but, you know, the real amazing part of the story, Joy, is about the people who made that victory happen that you just talked about, that York Properties gave us everything we wanted. And they told us that their business was greatly affected in many departments by this. And it was literally thousands of emails and phone calls that people made that when we went in there, they just said, yep, we're going to give you what you want. And we think it's really important to tell that part of the story because that's the part that's about people making change when we come together. Oh. And we can't be deterred by a climate of hate. You know, that's what we think, Joy.
Well, that's an interesting, you know, thing that happened there. But, you know, now the truth of it is that you happen to be a gay activist. Am I right? And you work for a social justice group. So some people are saying that this was a stunt. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, at first they were saying that, and then when York came out and pretty much said, it pretty much happened the way we said, and, you know, that my girlfriend and I said, and we're really sorry, and the people in the restaurant confirmed, you know, how disturbed we were when it happened. People let that go. But mostly what I say, Joy, is sadly we live in a country where we don't have to pull a stunt, you know, to show homophobia. It happens too often, unfortunately. So, you know, I've just tried to, it's so ridiculous a claim, I've just tried to kind of not be too deterred by that and let it stop me from getting at the real issues that's important, you know?
What's your advice to me? Should I stop kissing women on The View now? Because we're always kissing on The View.
I say keep going with it, Joy. Kiss as many women on The View as you want.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Caitlin. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joy.
Okay. Joining me now with his take on the incident is singer and Raleigh native Clay Aiken. Hey, Clay, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you. Now, you're from the area in Raleigh.
I am, yeah.
You are from Raleigh. In fact, are you there right now?
I am.
You are. So are you surprised to hear that this happened in Raleigh, or is it de rigueur in Raleigh?
You know, well, it's definitely not that. It was a little bit surprising, especially the area that it happened in. You know, it's a more progressive area. Raleigh, I think people paint the South sometimes with a broad stroke, which I don't think is necessarily fair. And this area is relatively progressive. It always has been, especially relative to some other places in the South. So I think the reason it made news here was the fact that it was a little bit surprising, right. Especially in the place that it was.
Now, there seems to be a recent uptick, as they say, in anti-gay incidents in this country. Why do you think that's happening now?
You know what? I don't know if it's because that it's happened more or there's just been more attention paid to it. And I think if it is that more attention's been paid to it, I think that's great. I think I'm bringing awareness to the fact that, you know, individuals have been bullied for being gay or being lesbian for decades, for years, and now we're seeing it a little bit more in the news. I think it's made people stop and think a little bit about their behavior and about the words that they choose and the words that they say. I don't know that necessarily there's been more bullying or uptick in anti-gay behavior as much as it's just been made more aware. We've been made more aware of it.
Well, you know, I just found out that the Pentagon is telling recruiters around the country that they can now, accept openly gay candidates for the military because of the ruling.
I know, I heard.
The ruling that came down. Of course, it's going to be appealed. What do you say? Isn't that something that the Pentagon is behind this now?
I think it's incredible. I think that fortunately, I believe that the Pentagon, obviously, Secretary Gates and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs are both have been very outspoken in their belief that the Don't Ask, Don't Tell should be repealed, and I think that is probably leading them to follow the department, follow the ruling of the federal courts in the way that it was handed down. I think that the thing that we need to hope for is the fact that if for some reason this ruling gets overturned or gets stayed, that those openly gay recruits are not then put out again. And so I think that people must need to be obviously very deliberate in the decisions they make because as we've seen time and time again, you can't necessarily trust that that the folks in Washington are going to do the right thing.
That's true. But let's talk about the word gay for a second, because there's a whole thing this week that I was hearing about with Vince Vaughn, who has this movie called The Dilemma. And in the trailer, he refers to electric cars as gay. It's a joke. He's a comedian, and it's a joke, and it's supposed to be a funny movie. And Anderson Cooper basically said, don't use the word that way. It's a pejorative. It's in a pejorative sense, and it's not good. And he objected to that. He says that humor brings us together, etc. What is your take on the word gay? Are we supposed to not use it in that way? He said the electric car is gay, not in a homosexual way, but in some other lame way. Yeah.
I think there's a fine line between it. Now, obviously, I can see both sides of the issue, but I would say that we probably wouldn't say that an electric car is black and think it was funny, or say that an electric car was Jewish and think it was funny. Using the term gay as a negative word has become a little bit of a popular thing to do, and as a gay man, I can see why that's sensitive it becomes sensitive to people,
right? Because
especially
it's
if you're a teenager.
Used. It's a negative. Okay, I want to talk some more about this with you when we come back in a minute. Stay right there. I'm back with Clay Aiken. Let me just go back to what we're talking about, the use of the word gay again, okay? Vince Vaughn used it in the trailer, and now GLAAD is saying that they should pull the word from the movie itself. So what do you think about that, toying with the script of the movie?
I think that there's an argument to be made for the fact that something is used in an artistic way. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know what the character is, and if the character is supposed to have some form of homophobia, maybe it works.
That's right.
We obviously don't take out other negative terms when it works for the character. If it's just used benignly to signify something being lame, it may not be the best choice, but we obviously have to allow other people to do this, to speak freely, so that we can do it. You have to, if you want rights for yourself, you got to give other people rights for themselves too.
That's true.
So,
I mean, like on Mad Men, people object to their smoking. Well, in the 60s, everyone smoked. So you can't, say, well, they can't smoke. So if the character's a jerk and uses a gay in a pejorative way, well, then he's a jerk, and that's the character. I agree with that. Right. I think you're right. Okay, one more thing. Just this week, a Texas dad was told he could no longer serve as a leader in his son's Cub Scout pack because he's gay. Is it any wonder that gay bullying is such an issue at schools when the Boy Scouts is pulling a gay father who's donating his time?
I was not a Boy Scout at all, but it's amazing that there are still isolated incidents. I mean, New York City just saw a horrific attack against some young men who were gay and were beaten and sodomized. There are places all over the country that need to focus on that have their own problems. And I think that sometimes places like Texas and North Carolina and South Carolina get singled out because they are more traditionally conservative, but places all over the country do need to focus on it. 9 out of 10 kids in school, 9 out of 10 gay, lesbian, transgender children in school report being bullied every year. So, and half of those, it's a physical report being physically harassed. So it's an epidemic. It's an issue all around the country, and people need to make sure that we're paying attention to focusing on it at a young age and making sure that kids in schools, high schools, middle schools, are in a safe environment, and make sure that kids in high schools and middle schools understand to accept their peers, and I think that will trickle up, if you will, as these children grow older. They'll be more accepting.
Well, my God, in New York City, just this past week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, was another incident, besides the one in the Bronx where you're talking about the sodomizing. I mean, these kids came into a gay bar down in the Village, in Greenwich Village. Julius, which has been there for so many years, and the Stonewall Bar. My God, those are safe havens for gay people, and they were beaten up and harassed there. So, I mean, it's not even safe in your own neighborhood in Greenwich Village. My God, what is this world coming to?
There's definitely an air of ignorance, and I think probably fear that comes with that from people. And as these things get into the news more often, as we unfortunately talk about these teens committing suicide, or we talk about gay rights becoming more common in the public arena, I think it probably scares people who are ignorant and are not aware of homosexuality and the fact that we all are equal folks and deserve the same rights as each other.
It's always lovely to see you, Clay.
You too.
Tried and True Tour. His Tried and True Tour kicks off in February. Go to clayaiken.com for tickets and tour dates. We'll be back in a minute.